Hello and welcome to tonight's lecture, arranged by the Center for Asian and Middle Eastern Studies. I'm your host, Naeem Mahmood. Tonight, we are to have the second lecture of the series, seven-part lecture series with the title, Applied Multiplexity, Ibn Khaldun as an Example. The aim of the series is to understand Ibn Khaldun's multiplex approach to social science. The title of tonight's lecture is Ibn Khaldun on Existence, Multiplex Ontology. The lecturer is Professor Dr. Recep Şentürk. Professor Dr. Recep Şentürk is the Dean of the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University, Qatar. He was the former founding president of Ibn Khaldun University in Istanbul. He holds a PhD from Columbia University's Department of Sociology and specializes in civilizational studies, sociology, and Islamic studies with a focus on social networks, human rights, and modernization in the Muslim world. He served as a researcher at the Center for Islamic Studies in Istanbul and is the founding director of Alliance of Civilizations Institute. He is the head of International Ibn Khaldun Society and has a seat at the editorial boards of multiple academic journals. Among his books are in English, Narrative Social Structure, Hadith Transmission Networks, 1610 to 1505, and in Turkish, Open Civilization Towards a Multi-Civilizational Society and World, Ibn Khaldun, Contemporary Readings, Malcolm X, Struggle for Human Rights, and Social Memory, Hadith Transmission Network, 1610 to 1505. Sorry, 610 to 1505. Professor Dr. Recep Şentürk's work has been translated in Arabic, Japanese, and Spanish. So this is the short, brief intro of tonight's lecture. Now, a bit format of tonight's lecture. The lecture will take roughly around 30 to 45 minutes, and then it will be followed by comments and Q&A section. We observe few rules. We ask our audience to keep mic and mobile muted until told otherwise. We encourage questions and discussions, maintaining professional approach. We also encourage attendees to take notes on the lecture for the comments and Q&A section. So without further ado, I would like to ask Professor Dr. Recep Şentürk to deliver the lecture. Professor, over to you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Professor, if you would like to share the slides, you can slide.
Assalamu ala Rasulna Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Inshallah, I will share my slides. This series of lectures is about application of multiplexity. In my previous series of lectures about open civilization and decolonization of social sciences, I talked about multiplexity at the conceptual level. And in this series of lectures, I will introduce one of the leading Muslim scholars, Ibn Khaldun, as an example. It doesn't mean like Ibn Khaldun is the only one who adopted multiplexity. He's just an example among many. All Muslim scholars, they subscribe to multiplexity, and Ibn Khaldun is just one of them. And the reason why I chose Ibn Khaldun, because he's well known both in the East and the West, both by Muslims and non-Muslims, and he's respected and regarded. And in my previous lecture, I discussed that Ibn Khaldun is not only a pioneer of social sciences, but he's the alternative to the existing hegemonic social sciences. I have discussed like why he is the alternative to the existing social sciences, because calling him pioneer looks like a good praise, but at the same time diminishes his value, because pioneers are surpassed by later generations, and they are no longer useful. But Ibn Khaldun, in our view, is still useful for us in understanding what's happening in the world, what's happening to societies, what's happening to individual human beings. So one of the most important ways of the manifestation of multiplexity in one's approach is his approach to ontology, to existence. So how did Ibn Khaldun view existence? So his view was multiplex. He accepted that there are multiple layers of existence. And in this lecture, I will demonstrate Ibn Khaldun's multi-layered, multiplex understanding of existence, or multiplex ontology. So the fact that Ibn Khaldun has multiplex ontology is very important, because ontology determines epistemology, epistemology determines methodology, and these three, ontology, epistemology, and methodology, these are the building blocks of a paradigm on which social sciences or social theories are grounded. Ibn Khaldun is considered by many as a representative of either positivism or empiricism or rationalism or historicism, or merely like a Muslim scholar, religious scholar. All of these judgments about him and his muqaddimah are both true and false. The truth about them is that Ibn Khaldun's work has many similarities to each of these diverse approaches. So there are like similarity to positivism, there is similarity to empiricism, there is similarity to rationalism, historicism, and also he's a religious person. The mistake, on the other hand, is that Ibn Khaldun's work cannot be reduced to the scope of either of these approaches. So his work is empirical, but he's not empiricist. His thinking is rational, but he's not rationalist. So what is he then? So his multiplex approach combines all these things together. A broader reading of the Muqaddimah provides better insight into the ontological and epistemological framework in which Ibn Khaldun's Science of Society, Ilm al-Umran, fits. And this reading shows us that Ibn Khaldun was neither positivist, empiricist, nor rationalist or historicist. His work is grounded upon another alternative paradigmatic framework, which we like to call multiplexity. So the existing readings of Ibn Khaldun, partial, and is existing framing and representation of Ibn Khaldun is partially true, not holistic and comprehensive. So this manifests best in Ibn Khaldun's ontology. Some people misread Ibn Khaldun as if he's materialist. Some people misread him as if he's idealist, but his understanding of his subject is multiplex. So he accepts there is material level as well as the non-material level. So in his Muqaddimah, he wrote, beginning with the world of the body and sensual perception, the material world, and therein first with the world of the visible elements. One notices how these elements are arranged gradually and continually in an ascending order, from earth to water, from water to air, and from air to fire. So there is this hierarchical order. Some people misinterpret this as if he's talking about evolution, which is completely baseless claim. He's just talking about this multiplex order, and he doesn't talk about evolution. Each of these elements is prepared to be transformed into the next higher or lower one, and sometimes is transformed. The higher one is always finer than the one preceding it. Eventually, the world of the spheres is reached. They are finer than anything else. they are in layers which are interconnected. So all these layers are interconnected to each other. They are not separated, isolated from each other. And this is evidence of the fact that there is something that exercises an influence and is different from the bodily substances. This is something spiritual. It is connected with the created things because the various worlds must be connected in their existence. This spiritual thing is the soul, which has perception and causes motion. Above the soul, there must exist something else that gives the soul the power of perception and motion, and that's also connected with it. Its essence should be pure perception and absolute intellection. This is the world of angels. So this is an excellent illustration of Ibn Khaldun's multiplex approach. At the macro level, he accepts there is material world and the non-material world and divine world. Yani mulk, melekut, lahut. So this is something common accepted by all Muslims. And at the micro level, at the individual human level, he accepts that there is body and there is mind and there is soul. So human ontology is also multiplex, similar to the cosmology, ontology of the universe. So how about Umran, which is the subject matter of Ilm al-Umran, the science of society. So al-Umran, which is the key word for Ibn Khaldun, means society, civilization, human association, or collective human existence. For Ibn Khaldun, these terms are synonymous. In Arabic, he uses al-ijtima al-bashari, al-ijtima al-insani, al-umran al-bashari, or al-madaniya. He says like these are all synonymous, and he says that al-madaniya is used by philosophers like Farabi, Ibn Sina, Ibn Rushd, and al-ijtima al-bashari, al-ijtima al-insani, these are used by fuqaha and mutakallimun, and he says I am using Umran. So Umran is al-ijtima al-bashari. That's why I translate Ilm al-Umran as science of society. So Ibn Khaldun follows the ontology in his time, which studies subjects at two levels, Jawhar and Aras, essence and attributes. So Ilm studies civilization or society. That's the essence, the Jawhar. But the Jawhar is not studied by a discipline. Why? Because Jawhar is stable. It doesn't change. So there's nothing to study regarding Jawhar. So what's studied is Arad, attributes or accidents. So these attributes, they are classified into two categories: essential attributes, and non-essential attributes. So essential attributes, they are called al-award al-dhatiyya in Arabic, and non-essential attributes, they are called al-award al-ghayr dhatiyya. So al-award al-ghayr dhatiyya, these are epiphenomenal. These are not really important to be studied by scientists. But al-award al-dhatiyya, these are essential properties, essential attributes, and they change. They change. They are not like Jawhar. Jawhar does not change. But these attributes, they change. And disciplines study al-award al-dhatiyya of their subjects. So disciplines study essential attributes of their subject matters. because these subject matters change, and the disciplines study what are those essential attributes and how they change and why they change. So they ask what question, how question, and why question. But the most important one is why question. Why change happens in essential properties, essential attributes, or al-awars az-zatiyya of the subject matter. So this is the general framework which is used by Muslim scholars when they study a subject. So this distinction between essence and attribute or accident is derived from originally from the Greeks, from Aristotle and other scholars. So if this perspective is applied to civilization, so what are the essential attributes of a civilization? So it's mulk, millet, izzat, dhillat, badu, hadr, asabiyya. These are the essential attributes of civilization. So politics, economics, religion, geography, and the urban or nomadic life, and the solidarity, sciences and arts. These attributes always exist with any civilization, any society, but in different ways, and they change. Like, let's say, politics changes, the forms of state changes, and the same way religions change, economy changes, and the level of progress of a society, power of a society, development or decline of society, nomadic or settled urban life changes, and the level of solidarity, sciences, arts, these are all change. So Ilm Umran studies how these things change and why they change. What are the causes of change in politics, religion, economy, solidarity, and Ibn Khaldun accepts that there are two types of civilization: al-Umran al-Hadari and also al-Umran al-Badawi, sedentary civilization or urban civilization, and the nomadic civilization. So from this perspective, there is no society which doesn't have civilization. So no society outside of civilization. Even those nomads who live in like a deserts or mountains, they have a civilization. Why? Because they have social order. Because according to Ibn Khaldun, the criterion whether in a group has civilization or not depends on whether they have a social order or not. So nomads, they also have a social order. They have politics, they have religion, they have norms, they have economy, they have solidarity among themselves. So they have traditions. So all the existence, all these things show that they have umran, they have ijtima al-bashari, they have society. So they have civilization, but the civilization is al-umran al-badawi, nomadic civilization. And people who live in the city, they also have like politics, economics, but in a different way. So why these two are different? And also sometimes nomad people move in the city, they become urbanized. So this is also a very important change which needs to be studied by Ilm Umran. So you see this multiplexity here. There is Jawhar, there is essential property, properties of civilization, and also different types of civilization. So this is a multiplex ontology, in particular Jawhar and Araz. Jawhar, Araz Zati, Araz Ghair Zati. three levels of existence. So the Umran is a dynamic structure. Civilization, society is a dynamic structure. It is essence does not change, but attributes always change. So in that respect, Umran has a very dynamic structure because its attributes are in constant change. That's why the subject of the science of Umran is not static or set in stone. On the contrary, it's fluid and changeable. Ibn Khaldun emphasizes this in the following way. One of the unseen mistakes of the science of history is that it does not take into account the change that occurs in societies and generations with the change of centuries and days. This is a very hidden and grave illness. So if you are a historian and you ignore change, this is a grave mistake. The unchangeable attribute of history, the unchangeable attribute of society is change. Always change. Civilizations rise and fall due to the change in the attributes, whose existence in turn depends on the existence of civilization and vice versa. Ibn Khaldun believes that all civilizations operate in accordance with the same laws. They all have same essential attributes, and the essential attributes follow the same rules of change in all civilizations. So this ontology of substance and accident, Jawhar and Aras. Aras sometimes is translated as accident, sometimes as attribute, sometimes as quality. So Ibn Khaldun's understanding of existence is a continuation of the tradition before himself, especially the mutakallimun, such as Fakhruddin Razi, Aduddin al-Iji, and Sa'aduddin Taftazani. As we have mentioned in the first lecture, he is an Ash'ari. He follows the Ash'ari philosophy, and he follows the Maliki fiqh. So he belongs to these two major traditions. He employs traditional metaphysics that's based on the distinction between substance and accident. Substance, Jawhar, an essence that's not in a subject, mawdu, and subsists by itself, qa'im binafsi. It is the bearer of accidents, arad, and its essence, zat, does not undergo alteration. It doesn't change. It exists by itself, doesn't need any other place to exist. But accident is an essence that subsists in a subject. So it cannot exist by itself. It exists with a subject. It is attached to Jawhar. Without the Jawhar, it cannot exist. It cannot survive. So, this diagram shows like there is Jawhar and there is Arad attached to Jawhar. So Jawhar can exist by itself. Aras cannot exist by itself. They need Jawhar. For instance, society can exist by itself, but politics cannot exist without society. There must be a society so that there can be politics. Same way economy. Economy cannot exist by itself. Economy needs society. So Umran is the subject matter, mawdu of ilm al-Umran, and mulk, asabiyya, science, progress, settled life, nomadic life, etc. These are topics and issues, masail of ilm al-Umran. So there is mawdu and masail of a discipline. So essential accidents emerge in human society. As I said, they cannot exist by themselves. You know, they need society to exist. Ibn Khaldun believes that all civilizations possesses possess comparable structural characteristics of which he labels as essential accidents, al-awarid al-zatiyya. Ibn Khaldun summarizes what he did in his Muqaddimah. In it, he means in al-Muqaddimah, I have expounded in a manner beneficial to you the states of Imran and of establishing civilizations, the essential attributes emerging in human society, including their causes and effects. So he says this clearly in Arabic, وَشَرَحْتُ فِيهِ وشرحت فيه من أحوال العمران والتمدن. So he's saying that in that book, I explained states of civilization, states of society, and also tamaddun. Tamaddun has two meanings: urbanization and also building civilization. وما يعرض في الاجتماع الإنساني من العوارض الذاتية, and the things that are attached to human society. الاجتماع الإنساني من العوارض الذاتية, من essential attributes or essential accidents that are attached to الاجتماع الإنساني ما يمتعك بعلل الكوائن وأسبابها, in such a way that it offers you the causes of the events, the causes of the phenomena. So this is how he says, I explained in my book the states of civilization and socialization, and the attributes that are attached to society and the causes of their change. So Ibn Khaldun talks about different levels of existence. One of the levels of existence is the world of created things, al-kainat, al-kainat, and al-kainat, the world of existing things, comprises two types of beings. First one, pure essences, dhawat mahda, and the second one, actions proceeding from living beings, al-af'al as-sadira an al-hayawanat. So living beings, they act, and through their actions, they produce a reality. So there are two types of existing beings, the pure essences, and then what human beings construct, produce, and build. So he wrote that it should be known that the world of existing things comprises pure essences, such as the elements, the things resulting from their influence, and the three things that come into being from the elements, namely mineral, plants, animals. So these things are not production of human actions. All these things are connected with the divine power. So Allah Ta'ala creates them. It also comprises actions proceeding from living beings. So the world, includes actions, the outcome of the actions of living beings that happen through their intentions and are connected with the power that God has given them. Some of their actions are well arranged and orderly, such as human actions. Others are not well arranged and orderly. They are the actions of the living beings other than man. So there are two levels of existence. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the social ontology of Ibn Khaldun, because when we talk about like ontology, the existing beings, it's not only like material objects that existed, but at the same time, the society, the civilization, these are also existing beings, right? So this is what we call social ontology. The first and foremost significance of Ibn Khaldun is that he discovers a new realm of existence, the socially constructed world, عالم الحوادث الفعلية, a world which is the outcome of human actions. And he makes this the subject of a new science. So عالم الحوادث is the social historical level of existence. It is social as it emerges with society, historical as it disappears over time. Pure essences, zawat mahta, constitutes the natural world, while actions proceeding from human beings generate the socially constructed world, alamul hawadith. So there is a natural world and the social world. So the natural world consists of pure essences, and the social world consists of human actions. The world of things that come into being as the result of action, alam al-hawadith, materializes through thinking. So إن عالم الحوادث الفعلية إنما يتم بالفكر. So what brings about the constructed society or the outcome of human actions, human thinking. So thinking is very important for the constructed reality around us. Without thinking, nothing would be constructed, nothing will be built, nothing will be developed by human beings. Today, one of the most prominent thinkers who deals with social ontology is John Searle. Like Ibn Khaldun, Searle also differentiates between brute facts, such as trees, institutional facts, such as traffic lights, and claims that humans construct the social world through language. So social world is constructed by language, by using language. So Searle also makes this distinction between two levels of existence, similar to Ibn Khaldun. But Ibn Khaldun says, we construct social world through thinking. Searle says through language. Of course, we use language to express our thinking. So multiplex ontological relationality in Ibn Khaldun's thought, he observes an endless pattern in creation. Four main principles that explain multiplex relationality in Ibn Khaldun's thought. First, order and solid construction, at-tartib wal-ihkam. Second, nexuses between causes and things caused, ربط الأسباب بالمسببات. So, causes and effects, they are linked to each other in the world. Connection between parts of the creation. So different parts of creation are interrelated, interconnected. They are not separate, isolated from each other. So اتصال الأكوان بالأكوان. Transformations of some entities into others. استحالات بعد الموجودات إلى بعض. So transformation, change. So the social world is characterized by order and construction and cause and effect relations and interconnection of different parts of it, and also transformation and change. So multiplex relationality may be, described as follows. there is alam al-jismani, the material world, and the material world are like two types, alam al-anasir and alam al-takwin. So alam al-anasir, earth, water, air, and fire. Alam al-takwin, minerals, plants, animals, and humans. So you see this hierarchy, you see these levels of existence. And the same way, living beings, like there is like a human body, human soul, and the angels. And you have animals, humans, and angels. So there's Malakiya, Ruhaniya, and Bashariya. You see this multiplex perspective always manifest in his writings. Elements are arranged gradually and continue in an ascending order. It's like minerals, plants, animals, earth, water, air. Human soul is prepared to reach the higher and finer level of Malakiya, like angelhood, by virtue of a primary natural position that God has placed in it. So progress is always possible at one's level, so that it gets close to the beings at the higher level. So animals may develop like some of the qualities that are similar to human beings, and human beings may develop some qualities that are similar to angels. Sunnatullah, this is something very important for Ibn Khaldun. One of the similarities between Ibn Khaldun and positivists is that both accept the existence of certain regularities in the social world. Positivists call these regularities as social laws. However, Ibn Khaldun calls them Sunnatullah or Adatullah, which emphasizes Allah's wills of creation. Ilm Imran appears as a science for understanding these regularities of Sunnatullah or Adatullah in the world. These are the regularities, the patterns Allah Ta'ala created. Thank you very much. This is the end of this lecture. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Professor, for the lecture and presentation. Excellent, excellent. And yes, this is the section for the comments and Q&A. I hope our audience have taken notes on this. I can already see Rubaiyat's hand is already there. So please feel free to raise your hand and ask a question. We want to make this part as lively as possible and as communicative as possible and as elaborative as possible. Thank you so much. Rubaiyat, go ahead, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Şentürk. I have two questions.
Yes,
I have two
please.
questions. So first is, I wanted to know an example of Arad Ghayr Dhati. Like you mentioned Arad Ghayr Dhati.
Yeah, Arad Ghayr Dhati, for instance, let's say you are a human being. Being a human being is your jawhar. And you are a man, this is Arad Dhati. Arad Dhati. And now you dress like a black shirt. This is Arad Ghayr Dhati. Next day you may dress white, the other day blue. So this is like Ghayr Dhati, but you are a man, you are an intelligent person, you are Muslim, like your religion, your sex, these are Arad Ghayr Arad Dhatiya. They always exist with you. Like you are man, always man. You are Muslim, always Muslim, but today you have black shirt, next day white shirt, the other day blue shirt, so they say this award Ghayr Dhatiya, they are epiphenomenon. They are not really important to study. So they say we focus on let's say religion, let's say your economic position, political position, like every human being, has political dimension, right? So there is nobody who's not political. there is nobody who's away completely from economics, but we have different ways of getting engaged with economics, right? So these are our al-a'rad al-dhatiyya. You know, I mean, like this being an economic actor can never be detached from us. You know, we are part of the economy. We are part of politics. We have faith. You know, so you know these are not separated from us. But there are certain things. Let's say today you have long hair, tomorrow short hair. You know, these are changeable things. These are like epiphenomenon. They are not really important. And some people don't have hair. See what I mean? So it's not really something important for scientists to, social scientists, you know, to study. So they make this kind of distinction between really important attributes that are always attached to the subjects, but they change. We study how they change, why they change, but there are some attributes, they are epiphenomenon, they are not really important for us to care. See what I mean? So that's the al-awarad al-ghayr dhatiyya.
So I had a second question, which is, we said that the jawhar is qa'im bi nafsihi, right?
Yes.
So, so that brought me, you know, so are they then like, are there wujud wajib then? And
No,
if
no,
so,
no, they're not
no.
wajib al-wujud, but let's say you are insan,
Right.
you are insan, so your being an insan, the quality of being human being, you know, it is not attached to something else. So that's the meaning of it. But you are a man, so being a man is attached to becoming a human. See what I mean? So manhood cannot be thought of without human being.
Okay.
So this manhood cannot exist by itself. Manhood can exist only if it's attached to a human subject. So like let's say poverty cannot exist by itself. Poverty is an attribute of a person, right? You know, so that's the distinction between the two. Like you say ilm.
Right.
Ilm cannot exist by itself. It's an attribute of a human being. So this is the distinction between jawhar and araz. You know, so the quality of being insan is not attached to something else. You know, but the quality of ilm is attached to insan. That's why the quality of ilm cannot exist by itself. You can say, like you say alim, who's alim? See what I mean? But when you say insan, you don't say who's insan. Insan is insan. You know, so like being an insan is the place where other attributes are attached to. So, but being insan is not an attribute which is attached to another existing being. So that's the difference between like society. Society is not an attribute to be attached to something else, but all the social attributes are attached to society. So they exist with society, but society doesn't exist with another subject. So that's the difference between the two. But of course, society is created by Allah Ta'ala. You know, a human being is created by Allah Ta'ala. So all jawhars are created by Allah Ta'ala. So this concept, qaim bi nafsihi, should be understood in this way. So they are bearers of attributes, you know, but they themselves are not an attribute.
That's good. I think, Rubaid, you can come back to you a bit later. Let's
Sure.
go to Paul. Paul is waiting for patiently. Paul, go ahead, unmute yourself and raise your question, please.
Hi, thank you. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm just interested if you can perhaps expand upon the notion that we have here a unique paradigm. I'm versed by training in European philosophy, and I was struck by how so much you were saying reverberates throughout European philosophy. At one point, it's almost Marxist, another point, Hegelian, another point, Platonic. But my question is, in what sense? I know you made a point at the beginning saying that this is an alternative paradigm, but I'm impressed by the similarities: human agency, essence, and contingency, all these ontological questions, epistemologies. They've been very much explored everywhere in the world, but also European philosophy. And if you look at the three great books, the Jewish Torah, the Christian Bible, and the Muslim Quran, you see so many similarities echoing in what you're saying. So for me, what I learned from you today is that there's a world coming together. That there's a unity of thought around the world, around humanity, of which this particular philosopher at a particular time expressed and captured that kind of unity. My question is it truly a new paradigm, or is he talking about universal truths?
Yes, yeah, this is a very good question. Actually, it has many questions in it.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Like, Ibn Khaldun has like many commonalities with those people who subscribe to religious thought. Because those people who subscribe to religious thought, they accept multiplex ontology, they accept there is metaphysical world and also divine world.
Mm.
So, they accept different levels of reality, but those who reject metaphysics and God, they accept only a single level of reality, which is the material reality. So this is what I call uniplexity, the opposite of multiplexity. So they are reductionists. They reduce existence to only a single level of existence. And the same way, in the pre-modern world, before the rise of materialism and positivism, like those Christians and Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, they all accepted divine revelation as a source of knowledge, in addition to reason and sense perception. So Ibn Khaldun and all the Muslim philosophers also share this multiplex epistemology, which incorporates both reason, sense perception, and divine revelation. But the materialist perspective rejects divine revelation as a source of knowledge. So Ibn Khaldun has like a commonality with like more commonality, let's say, more commonality with the pre-modern thinkers. But at the same time, he has commonality with modern thinkers, which emphasize empiricism, rationality. So because in this multiplex framework, empirical knowledge has its place, rational knowledge has its place, but also divine knowledge has its place. So you find many commonalities, let's say, between Ibn Khaldun and Marx, Ibn Khaldun and Durkheim, Ibn Khaldun and Weber, many commonalities. Why? Because of Ibn Khaldun's comprehensive perspective. Ibn Khaldun pays attention to material causes as well as ideal causes. So Ibn Khaldun accepts empiric methods as well as rational methods, as well as interpreting divine scripture. But those modern thinkers focus either on empirical methods because they are positivist, or interpretation because they are idealist. But when they see some empirical methods used by Ibn Khaldun, they jump to the conclusion that, oh, he's empiricist. Yes, this is true, but only partially true. He's empiricist, but not only, I mean, he's empirical, but not reductionist empiricist. He uses empirical methods, but he doesn't say, let's use only empirical methods. He also uses like rational methods, and also he uses like verses from the Quran, like scripture as source of knowledge. So people who subscribe to multiplex ontology, they are like materialists. They accept material level of existence, but they are not reductionist. They don't say everything is material. That's the difference. They are idealists. They accept ideal reality, but they don't say everything is ideal. So they, because of this multiplexity, they avoid reductionism. So we find like similarities. The most important difference is rejecting reductionism. So Ibn Khaldun's view, unity through multiplexity. Unity through multiplexity. So he demonstrates that the whole world is united through a multiplex structure. So like everything is integrated, like God is interconnected to all human beings, all animals, all objects in nature, and the human beings are also connected with all levels of existence. So this unity through this multiplexity, so there's a single big reality, and this single big reality has multiple levels of existence. There is material level of existence, and there is metaphysical level of existence, and the divine level of existence. But at the end, they are all interconnected with each other, not separated from each other. I mean, at the end, there is unity.
Yeah.
I hope
sure.
This is an answer to your question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, is there anyone else?
Okay.
Any questions, comments, objections?
Yeah, well, that's a very brief and nice way to summarize the whole Ibn Khaldun's idea, Professor. I think that that's so fascinating and so useful. Thank you. I think
there is a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Whether Ibn Khaldun subscribed to Kalam cosmological argument for God's existence. Yes, because he follows the Ash'ari Kalam school. He's a follower of Fakhruddin al-Razi. And the cosmological argument is a very common argument. I mean, lots of philosophers, theologians use it. I mean, I don't remember like him, because he doesn't have like a kalam, like a special kalam book, but this is, I mean, you see this, it's implicitly used or tangentially mentioned always in Al-Muqaddimah.
That's good. There are other few questions in the chat as well. Let's see. It says, right. Okay. Also, right. Why would you?
Yeah, democracy and communism. Yeah, this is Arad Zati. This is like political system, like mulk. He calls it mulk, political system. This is essential attribute. This is essential accident. Like wherever there is a society, there is politics. But there are different types of politics. There are different types of political system. And actually, like Aristotle says, like a human being is like a political animal. So politics cannot be separated from human beings. So that's why politics, Ibn Khaldun calls it mulk, is always always exist with any human society. But there are different types of like a political system, like a democracy, communism, fascism, monarchy, but there is always something there. But the type is different.
That's good. I think Abdul Malik, could you unmute yourself and raise the question, please? Go ahead.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for your enlightening lecture. Alhamdulillah. Could I just ask about the political system you refer to, which are aspects of civilization which Ibn Khaldun discusses? You mentioned the term mulk, and it's just really a question of nomenclature. Does Ibn Khaldun also use the word dawla? And does he see dawla and mulk as synonymous?
I mean, the word dawla is used by Muslim thinkers, for so many centuries. Some people argue that the word dawla is something new, which is not correct. I mean, like Dhahabi, has a history book titled Ad-Dawla al-Islamiyya, the Islamic dawlats. So dawla is a very old word, used in Arabic. But of course, it doesn't mean modern nation state, because dawla, the state changes over time. So modern nation state is a new phenomenon emerged in the modern period in the West. So Muslims didn't have it, nor did any other society in the world. So it's a big calamity, big like a disaster created by the Western people, big monster. It caused a lot of problems. Now Europeans, they are trying to get away from it by establishing European Union because they suffered a lot from the nation state, First World War, Second World War, and many other problems. Now they are trying to get rid of it and establish a big union, not based on nation. But I don't think they will be able to manage it because this nationalist ideology, they are like brainwashed. With this nationalist ideology, it's really rooted in their consciousness and subconsciousness. It's not easy for them to abandon like these national identities and say we are Europeans. I mean, it's not really easy to make this transition, but they are working on it. They are working very hard. They are rewriting their history as if Europe is a single nation, starting the Greeks, and they're putting all the European, like Aqwam, like Germans, Italians, French, Spanish, British, Greeks, Bulgarians into the same pot and creating a new nation, the European nation, for like a European Union. It's a big ambitious project. I don't know if they will be successful or not, but I'm very doubtful about this project. I hope they will succeed because this will prevent many wars in Europe caused by nationalist ideologies. So Muslims had dawla, but it was not like nation state. So, I mean, modernity created several evils. One of them is nuclear family, another one individualism, and the other one nation state. So these are like big evils and caused the lots of harm to humanity, and now they are coming to realize the dangers, or the detrimental impact individualism, nuclear family, and the nation state caused, but not easy to get away. But when these are like deviations.
Professor, you seem to be freezing.
I'm sorry?
No, please continue.
Yes. So anyway, basically, like dawla and mulk, they are most of time used like as synonymous, but sometimes dawla refers to the institution, mulk refers to the power. So sometimes used synonymously, sometimes with different connotations.
Excellent. I think Paul wants to come back. Go ahead, Paul. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, a complex question, but in terms of the ontology you've been describing, how would we ascribe the emergence of evil in that process?
Yes, evil is something that exists. So it is arad zati, an essential attribute of human actions. Our actions are either evil or good. So evil and good cannot exist like by themselves. They exist as an attribute of human action. So goodness and badness, let's say in a simple way, these are attributes of human action. So we do some things that are characterized by goodness, and some of our actions are characterized by being evil, harmful to others. So these are attributes of human action. Goodness and badness, these are not attributes of objects. Like alcohol is neither good nor bad, but drinking alcohol is bad. Money is neither good nor bad, but stealing money is bad. See what I mean? So these are like husn and qubuh. We use husn and qubuh in our fiqh, in our theology. Husn and qubuh, goodness and evil, these are attributes of human action, not the attributes of any object. So objects cannot be good or bad. Human action is good or bad. So it's part of the ontology.
Paul, do you like to add something else? Anything else? We cannot hear you.
You're raising very important issues about human agency. And you described how humans construct their social world. And human beings are flawed creatures and can make mistakes and go wrong. And you're describing societies in a state of flux and movement and change. And so people can take the wrong path. This is a very familiar story in the three great books of Adam and Eve, and the tree of knowledge and that sort of thing. It's thank you very much.
I mean, goodness and badness or evil, ontologically, these are like attributes of human action. But what's good, what's bad, this is a different issue, that needs to be discussed. Like, how can we know what's good, what's bad, and what makes something good, what makes something evil? So according to Ash'ari school, what makes something good is God. If God makes something good, it's good. If God makes something bad, it's bad. And we need divine revelation to tell us what's good and what's bad. And according to Mu'tazila school in Islam, things are like essentially good or essentially bad. Like some actions are essentially bad, some actions are essentially good. So, and God gave us reason to discover what is bad, what is good. We use our mind to discover what's good or bad. And what's the function of divine revelation? divine revelation helps us to expedite understanding what's good or bad, and also divine revelation confirms what we conclude by our mind. And then the Maturidi position, they say goodness and badness are intelligible, are intelligible things. But sometimes it's difficult for us to understand. That's why we need divine revelation. So role of reason and divine revelation in knowing what makes something good and bad, and how can we know it. This is a big debate in Islamic jurisprudence and Islamic theology, but it's not an ontological issue. I mean, we can discuss it in another, another time. But everyone accepts that goodness and badness is an attribute that cannot be detached from human action. Every human action is either good or bad. It's part of it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Sophia, you raised your hand once. Do you like to ask the question?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. The question of 99 names of Allah, which is the attribute. So then Professor said it will be discussed at another time. So I was just wondering if there is any connection with that. I mean, it's more religious side of things, I guess. The 99 names is regarded as an attribute of God.
Yes, these are attributes of Allah Ta'ala.
Yeah.
But because Allah Ta'ala does not belong to the material world,
yeah.
So you cannot describe his relationship like with his attributes similar to the relationship of the essence and attributes in the material world created by God. So God's existence and his essence is like beyond our comprehension. We have like a limited understanding of him, but there is a similarity that these attributes exist with God. They cannot exist by themselves. So like you say God is generous, Kareem.
Yes.
So this generosity is an attribute. It cannot exist by itself. It must be attributed, attached to a subject so that it can exist. So from this ontological perspective, there is similarity. Like our attributes exist with us, God's attributes exist with him. Okay? So in this regard, there is similarity.
Okay. Thanks.
Right, there are a couple of questions in the chat. Can evil be Johar too? Example, Iblis, and hence have range of attributes attached to it?
No. Evil cannot be a Johar. Evil is an attribute of an action. Because evil, evil means something harmful. Something harmful, something bad. And this being evil, being harmful, being corruptive, destructive, is an attribute of an action. So let's say, Satan acts in a way that's destructive, harmful, corruptive, misleading. So that's evil. But evil alone, without needing a subject to exist with, cannot be imagined.
Excellent. Maybe we're going to the last question now. Right. Said Haider, would you like to unmute yourself and get the question through to Professor, if possible? Okay.
So my question was that, Assalamu alaikum, that
Yes.
I don't know if you, how would you put Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni's thought in his opposition to the division of India based on existence of religious differences and creation of two states based on those differences. Will it be regarded as a similar concept as the modern nation state, or this division is you would call it different because since it's based on religion?
I mean, nation is a construct, like people constructed nations in Europe first, then they constructed nations outside Europe. So they constructed India as a nation, Pakistan as another nation, Bangladesh another nation. These are imperialist, colonialists. They constructed these nations. These are constructs. I don't think that Maulana Hussein al-Madani, like this idea of constructing nation based on ethnic roots or something like this. I'm not really expert on his ideas, but I don't think any rooted, well-established Muslim scholar would support this nationalist ideology or construction of like a nation state. This is what Wael Hallaq calls impossible state. He says, from an Islamic perspective, you cannot justify nation state.
But without maybe you can elaborate in one of the later topics, because that's a idea that still haunts many of the people. So even though, I mean, we're looking back in time just so that we have direction for the future, not as to criticize what happened, but maybe with your expertise and knowledge, inshallah, maybe in future.
Yeah. I mean, just be aware that all the nations that we have today, these are constructions. This is enough for you to keep in mind. Don't reify them. Don't essentialize them. I mean, these are constructs.
Okay, appreciate. Thank you.
Right, cool. Rubaiyat, you had a question? Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, can you hear me? Yeah. I think I just wanted to elaborate on that previous question that I asked about Jawhar al-Arad. So if you look at Umran, the idea of Umran as a Jawhar, what came to my mind is that the Umran, the way it's defined, is that it's the ijtima of people, right? So it depends. It sort of depends on individual people to come together to be that thing, right? So yes. I guess the idea of a Jawhar is like it's kind of like a conceptual thing. Like if you, I mean, like it's a conceptual unity, right? Of like a platonic ideal.
You're absolutely right. Like we say society, right? We say civilization. Right. So what kind of concept is this? What kind of existence is this? That's why I use the term social ontology. Social ontology. So we are assuming that something exists, which is called society. See what I mean? So this is like wujud i'tibari. Wujud i'tibari, it means like we assume that such thing exists, and then we attribute, like we attribute qualities to that assumed being, and we study this assumed being, like how it changes, how it causes things to happen, what are its qualities, attributes, etc. The Ibn Khaldun genius comes from this, that he recognized that such a thing exists, and he turned that thing into subject matter of a discipline. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, do you like to say anything? Yeah, unmute yourself. Probably this is the last question. Then
sorry, I'm just saying goodbye. I must go. Sorry,
okay.
yeah,
we are about to close the session as well.
Okay, I'm late. I'm late. Must go.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So, thank you everyone for taking part and making your question to Professor, and yeah, that was a very interesting session. Our next lecture will be on Tuesday, 7 March 2023, on the topic of Ibn Khaldun on knowledge, multiplex epistemology. So we thank Professor Dr. Recep Şentürk for the presentation, presenting the slide and delivering the lecture. And we also thank you all for taking part and making valuable contributions in the comments and Q&A section. We are very much looking forward to seeing you in the next lecture. With that, we are closing our session tonight. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.